I do want to welcome everyone here to Wind Cave. I'm Ranger Kim. Now I'd like to talk at our cave mat for just a couple minutes before we head to the entrance to really start talking about the complexity here at Wind Cave. Because Wind Cave is one of the oldest, it's one of the longest, and it's one of the most three-dimensional maze-like caves there is in the world, which we are always still exploring and adding length to it. Most recently, we've hit 167 miles. So with that, we are the third longest cave in the United States, and we are now ranked the sixth longest cave in the world. But uniquely, all 167 miles is squeezed into a 1 square mile surface radius just around the visitor center here. So when you look at our map of the cave, you can kind of picture that as your 1 square mile radius, and within here is 167 miles of very long, tight, and narrow passages. And all of these passages twist and turn and wrap around each other, just like a giant bowl of spaghetti noodles, okay? Now, it is not just the cave here that's very complex. Wind Cave National Park has a very complex history with people and their connections here as well. So Wind Cave is considered a very sacred place to a lot of different folks, local tribes, and that's what we're going to be talking a little bit more about today. So the entrance of the cave is considered a very special place. So as we all start walking down there, I want every person to start thinking of a place that's very special to you. And why is it special? How does it make you feel? Because that's this place for a lot of different people, okay? Dating back thousands of years, this is where the Lakota's origin place happens. Everybody on Earth, regardless of the continent you come from, religion you believe in, or evolution, everybody has a reason and try to figure out, why are we here? How did we get here? And for the Lakota, that starts right here at Wind Cave. Hole right here is this massive cave's largest natural entrance that we've ever been able to find before. And this is where the cave got its name from. It's very, very lightly breathing right now. Are you guys able to feel a little bit of the cold air? And it changes all the time. So sometimes the cave is taking a breath in, which it was doing about an hour ago, and now it's starting to exhale. Okay. Some days we get 45-mile-per-hour winds that rush out of there at us. And I think the highest recorded was 71 miles an hour. Wow. So those are pretty exciting days for sure. Now today we call it Wind Cave, but for the Lakota they call it Maka'onia, which basically translates into where Mother Earth is breathing from, where she is giving the breath of life. Now, I'm going to share with you folks the Lakota emergent story. And if anyone's familiar with Native culture, their history is passed down from generation to generation through oral storytelling. And we are blessed here to be able to work very closely with the Lakota, kind of learn some of their history and their cultures. Now this story is at the visitor center. If anyone would like to grab the copy and read through the entire version of it, feel free. Now for the Lakota, their story really started here thousands of years ago. It was at a time when the surface of the earth was just starting to come into existence. So there was just some plants and animals kind of about up here. Deep within the passages of Wind Cave, there is a portal to a spirit lodge. And in this spirit lodge is where their creator asked the people to wait at a time as the surface of the earth was starting to get ready to be able to support human life. Now also up here on the surface is what we call a couple trickster spirits. It was Iktomi the spider and Anagete, the two-faced woman. Now they were banished here from the spirit world for just being terrible. They were kind of put here to torture each other in their lonely existence. Now, Iktomi, the spider, he was the worst trickster of all. He liked to spend all of his days kind of torturing Anagete, never letting her have any peace or rest. And this went on for a very long time. Now, do I have anyone here that likes to play jokes or trick people? Maybe some pranks? Does anyone have siblings? Have you ever taken a long road trip with your siblings? Did you have a sibling that for hours upon hours would kind of just poke you?
Yes.
Get irritated, yes. And you can imagine for the trickster, it'd be fun for a bit. But say after 5 hours, they'd get kind of bored with doing it just to one person. So this was Iktomi's problem. He spent hundreds of years being able to torture just poor Nagate. And he did become bored with just the one person. So he wanted to start playing tricks on others. And he set his sights onto the people waiting within that spirit lodge. And he knew this would be a hard job to get done by himself. So he asked the Nagate to help him. And he promised her that if she were to help him, that he would no longer play tricks on her. So of course with this deal they made, she agreed to do so. Now the first thing she did was take a leather pack, and inside the leather pack she put some soft furs, some beautiful clothing, she put in there some berries and some dried meat, and then she loaded that pack onto the back of her wolf companion. Now from there she sent her wolf companion into the cave entrance, but back then it was a big entrance, one a grown man could easily walk through. And that wolf followed the passageways until he came to the people waiting within the lodge. The first thing the wolf did was tell the people how beautiful the earth was. And then he started showing them the items inside the pack. The people loved how soft those furs were. They had never felt anything so nice before. The women started trying on these beautiful dresses, and their husbands thought their beauties were now enhanced because of the dresses. They tasted the berries, which were delicious, and then they tried the dried meats, and they really liked those dried meats. Now, within the spirit lodge, these people didn't need these items. They had everything they needed to survive there. But they found that they really enjoyed them, and they wanted more of these items. So the wolf told the people that if you follow me to the surface of the earth, I will show you how you can get these things. For the most part, the majority of the people remained within the spirit lodge where their creator told them to wait. But for the ones that tried the meat, they could not resist. They really liked that meat. And they decided to follow the wolf through all the passageways until they came up to the surface. The first thing the people did when they came out of the cave was look up, and they saw this big, bright blue sky. And it was nice and warm, not like it was within the cave environment. It was summertime, all the flowers were in bloom, and they really did think it was the most magnificent place they had ever seen before. Now from there, the wolf guided the people to a Nagate, and she started to teach them how to work, make the items they would need, their shelter, their clothing, how to find the food they would need to survive. But the people found work was hard. They got tired very easily, and they really struggled with it. They didn't have to struggle for things within the spirit lodge. Now, after a little time, the people also noticed a change in weather. They weren't accustomed to seasons. Summer changed to fall, fall changed to winter. And the people found that they had worked so incredibly slow that they did not have enough supplies to about this, and they went back to a Nagate and asked her for some help. And it was at that point where she laughed in their faces, and she revealed her true intentions to not help them, but to help herself. With being scared, they ran back to the cave entrance to re-enter into the spirit world. But the people found that the entrance was sealed to them. They were now trapped on the surface of the earth forever. Now, with their fear and really not knowing what else to do, they simply sat here and started to cry. And with those cries is when their creator heard them. And he started asking them why they left. And so they told him the story about the wolf. And during this time, he became very angry and disappointed with their disobedience. And he needed a way to punish them. So his punishment to those first people were to transform them into these giant, magnificent beasts that we see today. It's known as the first bison herd on earth. Now, with this transformation, it was a way he punished them, but also a way he could save them, as now they can survive those long, harsh winters we have here. They're able to find the food they need. And also, now the surface of the earth was ready to support human life. So the Creator instructed the people waiting within the Spirit Lodge to follow the passages here and emerge up onto the surface. The first thing the people noticed when they emerged were in the dirt around here, the footprints of a bison. They were instructed to follow the bison, as it would provide them everything they needed to survive: their clothing, their shelter, their food. And then he shrunk the entrance to what we see today, never allowing them to re-enter and always be reminded from when they were born.
Here in the Garden of Eden room, the formations are a testament to the creative power of water. Here we see white fossils of brachiopods, small clam-like creatures, which give us a little window into the formation of Wind Cave. The brachiopods once lived in an ancient sea that covered this area of South Dakota. As these creatures began to die, their shells eventually began to pile up on the sea floor, and through time and pressure, this created a thick layer of limestone. As the earth began to shift and move, little cracks formed in the soft limestone. Sometime later, an uplift occurred in the Black Hills, which caused those little cracks to fracture into larger passages like the one shown here. Rainwater began to fall, and as it passed through organic plant material, it picked up carbon dioxide, turning the water into carbonic acid. This acidic rainwater began to enter down into the passages and slowly, over time, began to eat away at the limestone. The water drained down, leaving even larger passages behind. Water's ability to create has left its mark in the cave, and specifically here in the Garden of Eden, with some exquisite examples of formations. This formation, called popcorn, looks like small, round, white knobs. As rainwater enters into the air-filled passages of the cave, it begins to evaporate, leaving behind a mineral deposit, which in the case of popcorn is usually calcite. Another formation made from the evaporation process is called frostwork. As shown here, frostwork looks like delicate needle-shaped crystals which project from the cave wall and look much like a snowflake. The mineral making up these deposits is called aragonite. Frostwork is most abundant where evaporation has been quick and where air movement has been rapid. These are just two of the many formations rendered by water in Wind Cave.
Thank you for watching our video. Please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave those in the comment section. We'll work on getting them out to you as soon as possible.